From a shocking strike wreaking havoc since May to Bob Iger refusing to show any mercy, these are the real reasons why actors are striking with the Writers Guild. On May 2, 2023, the Writers Guild of America dropped a bombshell by going on strike. This labor dispute involves a whopping 11,500 screenwriters and their ongoing battle with the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. This strike is causing chaos in the entertainment industry, putting a halt to American TV and film production on a scale not seen since the dreaded COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. And let's not forget, it's also the largest labor stoppage the WGA has organized since 2007. To make matters even more intense, the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, a union that supports and protects actors, has also joined the strike, creating an all-out Hollywood labor dispute. So, will the writers get the recognition and pay they deserve? Well, to make sure they do, a lot of high-profile actors are joining the strikers at the picket line. The biggest stars, including Jason Sudeikis and Susan Sarandon, have joined the screenwriters' strike, causing major chaos in Tinseltown. These A-list actors are going all out to support one another and are refusing to appear in films or even promote their movies during the strike. They are taking a stand against unfair pay, working conditions, and the use of AI to get the work done. And get this, some of the biggest films, like the Avatar and Gladiator sequels, could be affected by this massive shutdown. It's truly a historic moment in the entertainment industry. But here's the juicy part. Brian Cox, the lead actor in HBO's Succession, believes this strike could go on until the end of the year. The streaming revolution has changed everything. And the actors aren't going down without a fight. They've received support from other big names in the industry, like the stars of the Oppenheimer movie who walked off the red carpet. Oh yes, the highly anticipated film, directed by the visionary Christopher Nolan, just had a jaw-dropping moment at its London screening. The entire cast, including Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Robert Downey Jr., and Florence Pugh, made a bold statement by walking out before the screening began. Nolan didn't hold back when he spoke about the strike, saying the writers and actors had his full support and how crucial it was for both sides to team up. And it's not just empty words, guys. Matt Damon, one of the film's stars, made it crystal clear that they were all walking off sets, hand in hand. That's why they moved up the red carpet event, to make sure they could commit their time to joining strikers. Blunt also called for the actors' commitment to standing together and fighting for a fair deal. They held a vote, and 98% of actors chose to strike. With these Hollywood heavyweights standing in solidarity, they're fighting for change. Except, negotiations between the unions and the studios have completely broken down. The SAG is accusing AMPTP of not offering a fair deal, with picket lines forming outside major studios and streaming services. The contract between the SAG-AFTRA and the AMPTP expired on June 30, 2023, and the AMPTP refused to bend a knee. Now, it's a question of whether both parties will meet eye to eye over future negotiations, but what's causing the most friction between all parties involved? One of the major points of debate is the residuals from streaming media. It's the money people can make if their show gets reruns or distributed on other platforms. The WGAA says the AMPTP's holding out on giving writers their fair share of residuals, and it's drastically reduced writers' average incomes compared to a decade ago. But that's not all. The writers are also raising concerns about the use of artificial intelligence, like ChatGPT in the industry. They want to make sure that AI is strictly used as an assistant rather than a replacement for human writers. Now, when it comes to the contracts, the latest minimum basic agreement between the WGA and the producers came into action on May 2, 2020. The minimum wage for television and film writers was set in it. But there's a catch. The MBEBA only applied to writers working on broadcast television shows, not streaming television. This led to differences in pay between writers working on different platforms. So the ones in the streaming world were often earning less for the same amount of work. Fast forward to May 1st, 2023. The MBA expired, giving writers the courage to rebel. The WGA estimates that its proposals would bring in around $429 million a year for writers, while AMPTP's offer only promises $86 million. Quite a difference, right? But the drama doesn't end there. The Guild is also pushing for mandatory staffing and a set duration of employment to be included in the contract. They want every show to have a minimum number of writers employed for a specific period, regardless politics of whether they're needed or not. The WGA is also fighting for everyone on the writing team to receive pension and healthcare funds. Sadly, the AMPTP rejected this proposal without even offering a counter-proposal. Sure, there was a temporary agreement to use a small sum of money, but nothing's been made official yet. It's a step in the right direction, but petty negotiations are not the way forward. With this attitude, it's getting harder to ignore the consequences of the strike, which has been going on for 11 weeks now. But things are about to get a whole lot worse. Television shows that had completed scripts before the strike, like The Lord of the Rings, were able to soldier on with filming, even though no writers were on set. But without actors to bring the stories to life, the only US-based productions able to continue are a handful of soap operas, reality shows, and game shows. Because of that, networks like Fox have had to revamp their fall TV schedule with tons of unscripted series. On the movie front, releases won't be immediately affected due to the time gap between filming completion and screening in theaters. But at this rate, the strike's impact on movie releases will eventually become unavoidable. Major studios are rechecking their movie release calendars, with Disney pushing back a lot of Marvel films in the making. And I don't think the strike will only be limited to the US. SAG-AFTRA actors working on productions overseas will also have to stop work. Premieres and prestigious film festivals in Venice and Toronto will be hit with the bulk of it, as actors won't be able to promote their films. Late-night talk shows, known for their current events-based comedy, would be the first to feel the strike's impact. Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel have new episodes scheduled for the coming week, but it looks like they'll rely solely on reruns. Heck, even SNL would be on thin ice, as the show heavily depends on its writers. But is AMPTP understanding the ripple effect of the strike? Doesn't look like it. So how long will the strike last? Well, history tells us that Hollywood strikes can range from a few months to just a few hours. SAG-AFTRA President Fran Drescher said she's down to sit and have talks only if the studios approach respectfully. But given how bitter the writers and actors feel, and how their fair demands are being squashed by those at the top, a quick solution seems unlikely. A few anonymous members of the AMPTP said they're hoping to drag out the strike till October, pushing writers to the brink of homelessness, and then use their horrible circumstances against them to make them cooperate. Meanwhile, the WGA has told writers to apply to the Entertainment Community Fund to get help with their finances. Sadly, it looks like those in positions of power couldn't care less about these struggles. Speaking of men in power, Disney's CEO Bob Iger has also spoken up about the strikes, and it looks like he didn't think twice before speaking, because he called the underpaid, unacknowledged, and overlooked writers' demands unrealistic. Fran was infuriated by his statement and said he should be locked up for his tone-deaf comments. To Iger, it's all a matter of bad timing. I mean, the industry just began recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, and he believes they've played their part in improving working conditions. The industry successfully negotiated a deal with the Directors Guild, and he's hoping the same can happen this time around. The 19,000 members of the Guild were offered a wage increase and better working hours. The director and writer of Sharknado, Thunder Levin, was stoked about the new deal, except as a writer, he's still being undervalued. Either way, with this rivalry getting worse day by day, I see no white flag in near sight. So there you have it. From Bob Iger refusing to show mercy to a shocking strike wreaking havoc since May, these were the real reasons why actors are striking with the Writers Guild.